Today, you will not be able to retell the story that happened on a flight from San Francisco to Austin, when Clint Eastwood, an elderly man, was asked to leave first class because he understood the value of maturity. Marina Winters. But when she tried to apologize, she discovered that this man was none other than Clint Eastwood. And what was more surprising was that he was not just an ordinary passenger. He was participating in a grand experiment on AI technology and the future of aviation. Can Marina find the truth behind this unusual incident? Watch the whole video to discover the secret and mysterious details of this special flight. Comment right where you are watching this video. Don't forget to like and subscribe so you don't miss the next interesting stories. Marina Winters had seen it all in her 12 years as a chief flight attendant. For more than a decade, she had perfected the art of aviation service, transforming each flight into a seamless symphony of precision and elegance. Her day began at an hour when the world was still fast asleep, the quiet of dawn serving as a constant reminder of the discipline she held close. By 4:30 a.m., Marina was already awake, her mind racing through a mental checklist for the day ahead. The airport was where she thrived, where she could control every detail, ensuring nothing was left to chance. She always arrived at least 2 hours before departure, her early arrival a key part of her meticulous routine. No task was too small to escape her notice. From the safety checks on board to inspecting the quality of catering, Marina knew every inch of the aircraft. But it was the first-class cabin that was her true domain. To Marina, first class wasn't just a section of the plane, it was her sanctuary. Every seat, every table, every detail had to be perfect before the passengers boarded. She moved through the cabin with the precision of a surgeon, ensuring everything was in place, every blanket folded neatly, and every service tray arranged to perfection. Passengers might not notice these small details, but Marina knew they were the key to an unforgettable flying experience. Her reputation was built on this obsession with perfection, a commitment to making each flight feel like an exclusive experience. But as she would soon learn, even the most well-planned routines are subject to change. That morning, as Marina meticulously checked her checklist one last time before the flight, she had no idea that a seemingly insignificant encounter would soon throw her world into chaos. The quiet, controlled environment she'd spent years cultivating was about to be shaken, by none other than Clint Eastwood, the Hollywood legend. What started as a simple mix-up would quickly spiral into a situation that would go viral, forcing Marina to question everything she thought she knew about her job, her passengers, and even herself. As the flight took off and the world watched, Marina Winters would soon find out that even the most calculated mistakes can lead to extraordinary consequences. It was a typical morning as Marina Winters made her final rounds in the first-class cabin, ensuring everything was in perfect order. The faint hum of the engines and the bustle of passengers settling into their seats created a familiar rhythm that she could almost predict by heart. As she moved through the cabin, her trained eyes scanned for any imperfections. Then, something unusual caught her attention. A man, dressed in casual attire, nothing that would distinguish him from any other economy-class passenger, was sitting in one of the first-class seats. At first glance, he looked completely out of place. Marina frowned. The man didn't belong in first class, not without the obvious markers of wealth or status. Without hesitation, she approached him, her demeanor calm but firm. "Excuse me, sir, I'll need you to return to the economy class. This area is for first-class passengers only," she said politely yet assertively. The man looked up, his face unreadable. He didn't seem upset or startled by her request. Instead, he simply nodded and handed over his boarding pass without a word. As Marina glanced at the pass, her brow furrowed in confusion. The name on the boarding pass read Clint Eastwood. Her eyes widened slightly, but she brushed the thought away. There was no way this could be the Clint Eastwood, the legendary actor, the icon of Hollywood. But curiosity gnawed at her. She checked the pass again, double-checking the class of the ticket. Sure enough, it was first class. She froze, suddenly realizing her mistake. The man sitting in front of her was, in fact, Clint Eastwood. He wasn't just any passenger, he was the Clint Eastwood. A momentary panic seized Marina's chest. Had she made a huge error? She looked up at him, expecting some kind of reaction, perhaps annoyance or even anger at the inconvenience. But instead, Eastwood remained completely calm, his expression unchanging. There was no frustration, no hint of impatience. He simply gave her a small, almost imperceptible smile. "It's okay," he said with a quiet assurance. "I'll move." His voice, warm yet authoritative, made it clear he wasn't bothered by the situation. He didn't argue. He didn't escalate. With a quiet grace, he stood up and made his way to the economy section, leaving Marina to stand there, a little stunned. It was such an unexpected turn of events that it took her a moment to regain her composure. She stood frozen for a second, realizing how close she had come to making an embarrassing mistake. But Clint Eastwood, ever the gentleman, had handled the situation with poise and kindness, leaving Marina to question not only her judgment, but also the humbling reality that even legends have their moments of humility. What Marina didn't know at the time was that this small interaction was about to escalate into something far bigger than either of them could have imagined. As the plane ascended into the clouds, Marina felt a sense of relief wash over her. The chaos of pre-flight preparations had finally settled, and the cabin was now calm, with passengers in their seats, ready for the journey ahead. But just as she was about to turn her attention to other matters, her phone buzzed in her pocket. She glanced at it, only to see a flurry of notifications flood in. Her heart skipped a beat as she opened one of the messages. It was a video. The video showed her, Marina, politely asking Clint Eastwood to leave the first-class cabin and move to economy. The video was shaky, clearly recorded by one of the passengers, but there was no mistaking the moment. It was her, and it was everywhere. Within minutes, the video went viral, spreading like wildfire across social media platforms. The caption read, "Flight attendant kicks Clint Eastwood out of first class." It was a complete accident, a simple misunderstanding that no one, least of all Marina, could have predicted would turn into such a spectacle. The video garnered millions of views, and the comments ranged from amused to outraged. Some found the whole situation hilarious, poking fun at Marina's mistake, while others expressed their disbelief, questioning how anyone could be so unaware of who Clint Eastwood was. The story quickly spread to trending news sites and entertainment blogs. But it didn't stop there. To everyone's shock, Clint Eastwood himself weighed in on the situation. A tweet appeared on his account, simple yet direct. "Happens to the best of us. Hashtag no hard feelings, hashtag moving on." The tweet sent the internet into a frenzy. Within hours, Eastwood's post had thousands of retweets, likes, and comments. People from all over the world responded, some jokingly offering him first-class upgrades for life, while others offered their sympathy to Marina for the embarrassing moment. The tweet was a testament to Clint Eastwood's timeless charm and sense of humor. Instead of being offended or making a scene, he took the whole thing in stride, showing the world that even legends like him could be good-natured about a mishap. As the social media storm continued to rage, Marina's phone buzzed again. This time, it was a direct message from her supervisor. The message was short, but its meaning was clear. "Don't worry. We'll handle this. Just keep it cool." But Marina couldn't shake the feeling that something much bigger was at play. This wasn't just a harmless viral moment. It felt like the beginning of something unexpected. What had seemed like an embarrassing slip-up now seemed to be growing into something that reached far beyond the walls of the airplane. It was a spectacle that, for better or worse, would leave its mark on Marina's life forever. As Marina walked down the narrow aisle toward the economy class, her mind was a whirlwind of conflicting thoughts. She knew she had to apologize, but she was also uncertain of what to expect. Clint Eastwood, the Clint Eastwood, had handled the entire situation with such grace and humor that it made her feel even more guilty for her earlier mistake. She reached the rear of the plane and scanned the rows of seats. There he was, sitting comfortably in an aisle seat, but not alone. Beside him, in the seat next to him, was a young girl, no older than 12. She was engrossed in a conversation with Clint, her eyes wide with excitement as she spoke about her latest project. Marina stopped in her tracks, her curiosity piqued. The conversation was not the usual chatter you'd expect from a young girl. It was deeply technical. Emma, as the girl introduced herself, was explaining the ins and outs of a neural network project she was working on. She spoke about algorithms, data processing, and how AI could revolutionize the way we think about machines. Clint was not just listening. He was engaging with her, asking questions, offering advice, and even suggesting ways to improve her project. It was clear that he wasn't just being polite. He was genuinely invested in what Emma was saying, his face lighting up with enthusiasm as she explained her ideas. Marina couldn't believe what she was seeing. The Clint Eastwood she had just confronted in first class, a Hollywood legend, an icon of toughness and resilience, was now a patient mentor, offering his time and knowledge to a young girl with a passion for science. There was no sign of irritation, no hint of anger for the earlier incident. Instead, Clint was fully present in the moment, showing kindness and encouragement. Marina stood there for a moment, her initial embarrassment melting away. She had expected him to be distant, perhaps even cold. But instead, she was witnessing a side of him that few people ever got to see. She waited until the conversation wrapped up, then took a deep breath and approached. "Mr. Eastwood," she began, her voice trembling slightly, "I just wanted to say, I'm really sorry about what happened earlier. I misunderstood the situation, and I should have been more careful." Clint looked up, his eyes softening when he saw her. Without hesitation, he gave her a warm smile and shook his head. "Don't worry about it," he said with a chuckle. "It was just a mistake. Happens to all of us." Marina was taken aback. This was not the response she had expected. She had imagined him brushing her off or even giving her a piece of his mind, but instead, he was showing her kindness. "I should have recognized you," she said, feeling a bit foolish. "It was an honest mistake." "No harm done," Clint replied, his tone light. "It's good to see people still getting excited about technology, though." He turned to Emma, who was beaming at the attention, and then back to Marina. "She's got a great mind," Clint added. "You can see it in the way she talks about her work. Reminds me of the way I felt when I first started out." Marina smiled, feeling a sense of relief wash over her. This wasn't just a celebrity brushing her off. Clint Eastwood had genuinely turned a potentially awkward situation into something meaningful. As the conversation continued, Marina felt a deep respect for him, not just for his legendary career, but for the way he treated people. Here he was, a man who had seen and done it all, yet he was humble enough to share his wisdom with a young girl and gracious enough to forgive an unfortunate mistake. As she left the cabin, Marina couldn't help but think how, in a single moment, her perception of Clint Eastwood had completely shifted. He wasn't just a movie star, he was a mentor, a teacher, and above all, a reminder that greatness is often found in the small, humble moments. As days passed, the incident aboard the flight continued to spread like wildfire across social media, with people around the world discussing Marina's mistake and Clint Eastwood's surprising response. But amidst all the online chatter, Marina couldn't shake the feeling that there was something more to the situation than just a simple mix-up. Everything seemed too orchestrated, too perfect. Her curiosity grew as she began to retrace her steps, thinking back to that moment in the first-class cabin when she had mistakenly asked Clint to move. She couldn't help but wonder if the entire sequence of events had been set in motion for a reason. It wasn't just the fact that Clint had reacted with calmness and grace. It was the way he had seemed so unbothered, even helpful, when she went to apologize in economy class. And then there was Emma, the young girl. Marina had seen how deeply Clint had engaged with her. The conversation between them hadn't been just idle small talk. It was intellectual, filled with technical jargon about neural networks and artificial intelligence. The more Marina thought about it, the more the pieces of the puzzle didn't add up. Why had Clint been so patient? Why had Emma been so involved in a conversation about technology on a flight? That's when she received the card. It was simple enough at first glance, an elegant black business card with no logo or name, just a QR code on one side and a cryptic phrase printed on the other. Not all mistakes are actually mistakes. Marina turned the card over in her hands, her mind racing. She scanned the QR code, which led her to a secure website that seemed almost too sophisticated for something as mundane as a business card. The site displayed an encrypted message: Operation Butterfly Effect, Phase 1. You are part of a much larger plan. The words felt like they were from another world, one that Marina hadn't known existed. She felt a chill run down her spine. At first, she had dismissed her suspicions as mere paranoia, but now, with this strange card and the website that seemed to know things about her, she realized that there was more going on than she could ever have imagined. The connection between Clint, Emma, and the cryptic message couldn't be a coincidence. Marina's mind was spinning with possibilities. Was the entire incident on the plane part of some grand experiment? Was Clint Eastwood just an actor, or was he involved in something far deeper? And Emma, how did she fit into all of this? Could the young girl's project on neural networks somehow be tied to the mysterious plan hinted at by the card? Marina began to dig deeper. She researched the phrase Operation Butterfly Effect, but found nothing concrete. The more she looked, the more it seemed that this was a highly secretive project, one that involved some of the brightest minds in science and technology. But why had it come to her? Why had she been chosen to be a part of this enigmatic plan? Her life, once predictable and routine, had now spiraled into something completely unexpected. As the days passed, Marina started to notice subtle hints in her surroundings, tiny clues that suggested she was being watched. Small, seemingly insignificant details, like a strange message left on her voicemail or a mysterious figure appearing at the same cafe she frequented. It all felt too calculated. Marina knew she had to uncover the truth. Every instinct told her this wasn't just a fluke. She had unwittingly been drawn into something much larger, and the deeper she dug, the more she felt that the world around her was not what it seemed. The lines between reality and manipulation were starting to blur, and Marina could no longer ignore the growing suspicion that the mistake on the plane had been no accident at all. It was the start of something much bigger, something that could change everything. As the plane descended toward Austin, Marina couldn't shake the unsettling feeling growing in the pit of her stomach. She had spent the past several hours reflecting on the strange series of events, trying to make sense of what had happened. The more she thought about it, the more it seemed like the incident with Clint Eastwood wasn't just a mistake. It was part of something much bigger. As the plane began its descent, Marina looked out the window, her thoughts racing. News about Clint's surprising response to the first-class incident had already gone viral. The incident was everywhere, on social media, in the news, and in countless video posts. The video of her mistake, now dubbed "Flight Attendant Kicks Clint Eastwood Out of First Class," had garnered millions of views. What had started as a small misunderstanding was quickly becoming the talk of the world. But it wasn't just the media frenzy that had Marina on edge. It was the rumors that had started circulating about Clint himself. People were speculating wildly about his involvement in a groundbreaking new technology, a project that had been kept under wraps for years. The more Marina heard, the more she realized that the strange feeling she'd had throughout the flight was justified. Clint wasn't just any celebrity or random passenger on a flight. There was something far more important about his presence on that plane. Marina's mind was in turmoil as she pieced together the details. She remembered Clint's calm demeanor in the face of what could have been an embarrassing situation. She thought about his conversation with Emma in economy class, discussing neural networks and AI. It was a conversation that, at the time, had seemed completely out of place for a casual flight. And then there was the mysterious business card she had received. "Not all mistakes are actually mistakes." That phrase kept echoing in her mind. Was this all a part of some grand experiment? Marina had heard whispers about Clint's involvement in top-secret projects, but she had never imagined she'd be so close to the action. As the plane touched down and the passengers began to prepare to disembark, Marina felt like she was on the verge of discovering something monumental. The world outside the window felt different, like it was shifting in ways she couldn't fully understand. The attention surrounding Clint Eastwood had reached a fever pitch, and Marina could feel herself becoming part of the story in ways she hadn't expected. The flight she had worked so many times before, with its routine and predictability, had suddenly taken on a life of its own. The aftermath of the incident, with its explosive coverage and widespread speculation, was only just beginning. Marina couldn't ignore the growing sense of unease as she walked down the jet bridge toward the airport terminal. She had seen the whispers and the rumors online about Clint Eastwood being involved in something far greater than what the public had been led to believe. She had been caught in the middle of something much larger, and she knew that the story was far from over. The truth, she now realized, wasn't what it seemed. As Marina walked into the terminal, she spotted Clint once more. He was surrounded by a small group of individuals, all dressed in sharp, formal attire. He looked every bit the part of a businessman, a leader in some groundbreaking field. Marina could sense that he was more than just an actor. He was someone whose influence stretched far beyond the silver screen. She knew that the truth about the flight and its bizarre events was out there, waiting for her to discover it. But as she watched Clint step into a sleek black car, her heart raced. She was no longer just a flight attendant. She was now part of something much bigger. The pieces were starting to fall into place, but the picture that emerged was one she could hardly comprehend. Something groundbreaking was happening, and Marina was caught right in the middle of it. The world was changing, and she had a front-row seat to a revolution she had never imagined. As the plane neared its destination in Austin, Marina's anticipation grew. She had spent the entire flight trying to piece together the strange and increasingly surreal events that had unfolded. But nothing could have prepared her for what Clint Eastwood was about to reveal. With the air of someone who had orchestrated every moment, Clint stood up and addressed the passengers. His calm, steady voice filled the cabin, capturing everyone's attention. He explained that this flight, this entire series of events, had been part of a carefully planned experiment called Operation Butterfly Effect. To Marina's shock, she was not just a bystander or an accidental participant in the unfolding drama. She was an integral part of the experiment. The passengers, including Emma and herself, had been selected for their roles in this groundbreaking test of human behavior in controlled environments. Clint revealed that the experiment had been designed to explore the use of advanced aviation technologies, as well as the application of artificial intelligence, AI, in aviation systems. The flight, along with the interactions between the passengers, was part of a larger research project aimed at understanding how AI could enhance flight safety, optimize routes, and create a more efficient, sustainable future for the aviation industry. The systems that had been embedded into the flight, including the networked AI systems Emma had been working on, were designed to track and analyze passenger behavior and decision-making in real time. The subtle interventions and oddities during the flight were not random. They were part of a larger, meticulously designed experiment to measure human reactions, social interactions, and how AI could shape the future of air travel. Marina felt a mixture of awe and disbelief. This entire time, she had been part of something far more significant than a simple mistake. The discomfort she had felt, the video that went viral, the strange business card, each element had been carefully planned to test not just AI systems, but the human element in aviation. She looked around the cabin, seeing the passengers in a new light. They weren't just regular travelers. They were participants in a revolutionary study. Clint, as it turned out, was not just a movie legend. He was a key figure in the development of this technology, an influencer whose expertise went far beyond film. And Emma, the young girl sitting in the economy section, had played a pivotal role in the creation of the neural network systems that powered the AI behind this experiment. Marina realized that her role in this experiment was just as critical. She had been selected not only for her skills as a flight attendant, but also for her capacity to engage with and manage the dynamics of the passengers in a confined environment. The experiment had been designed to push the boundaries of human interaction, testing how different personalities, behaviors, and decision-making processes could impact the operation of future aviation systems. It was a breakthrough that had the potential to redefine the aviation industry. As the plane touched down, Marina felt a profound shift in her understanding of what was possible. She had come to realize that sometimes mistakes, those small, seemingly insignificant events, could lead to world-changing discoveries. The viral incident with Clint had set the stage for something far more profound than anyone had anticipated. It wasn't just a misunderstanding. It was the spark that had ignited a global conversation about the future of air travel, technology, and human behavior. As Marina stepped off the plane, her mind was racing with questions about the next steps. Clint, Emma, and the other participants were all part of this world-changing project, and Marina had been fortunate enough to be a part of it. She was offered the chance to lead a new division in Pacific Airways, one focused on the integration of AI into customer experience. It was a chance to be at the forefront of an industry revolution, a chance to shape the future of aviation. As she walked into the terminal, Marina realized that the world of air travel was changing in ways she had never imagined. This was no longer just about flying from one place to another. It was about harnessing the power of technology to enhance every aspect of the journey. The experiment was only the beginning, and Marina knew that her involvement would push the boundaries of what was possible. The future was unfolding before her eyes, and she had a front-row seat to witness it all. The story of her flight had started as a simple misunderstanding, but it had grown into something that would forever change the course of aviation history. The breakthrough was just beginning, and Marina was ready to be a part of it. The world was about to witness the impact of a revolutionary change in air travel, and Marina, Clint, and Emma were at the heart of it all.